Welcome back to the Alcohol Free Revolution podcast. My name's James Lloyd,
And my name is Steve Smith.
and we're both alcohol free performance coaches. We both went alcohol free over 4.5 years ago now, and life has been pretty fantastic since. So we set up this podcast because we want to help other people take the leap, take a break from alcohol, find out what's on the table for them when they kick the booze into touch. This week, we welcome Daniel Avener. Daniel is founder, CEO of ClubSobr. ClubSobr is a global community designed for people who want to live fully, connect deeply, and celebrate, but without alcohol at the center of everything. The mission is really simple: to make sobriety and mindful drinking aspirational, inclusive, and global. Daniel's also an accredited ICF business coach and a recovery coach. He's supporting individuals and communities as they redefine what thriving really looks like. Daniel, welcome to the Alcohol Free Revolution podcast.
Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Brilliant. Well, look, we hooked up on LinkedIn, and I'll be honest, it's the first time I came across ClubSobr. I bet that happens all the time, doesn't it? People get mixed up with ClubSobr.
Well, that was designed on purpose. In fact,
is it? All right, cool.
I can come
Mission
back to
accomplished.
Well, we've actually got Laura Willoughby on in a few weeks' time, actually. So I'm pretty sure you know, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I absolutely love what you're doing, and I'm so excited you can come on the pod because ClubSobr looks absolutely fantastic. But before we get into that a bit later on, perhaps you could start by sharing a little bit about how you got into it and what your kind of personal journey with the booze has been and how you arrived at where you are today.
Yes, of course. So ClubSobr was very much the output of 25 years of being a professional brand builder. I worked in the brand management industry, working with big global brands like Hershey's, Coca-Cola, Mercedes-Benz, FIFA. So a whole raft of pretty well-known brands, and have spent most of my career traveling around the world and building extensions and geographical expansions for these brands. And mostly that was fantastic. I think latterly, when I set up my own agency, NDR Brand Management, things started the cracks started to appear. I think the pressure of that, the accelerated growth that we had, we were, September 2018, it was me and a laptop, and by 2022, we were operating in 25 offices around the world.
Wow.
Winning every major pitch that we were working on. And so whilst that success was great, on a personal side, things started to waver a little, coupled with the fact that I was going through a divorce at the time. So it was a perfect storm of many, many things. And so I exited that business in April 2024 and decided to take some time out. And the main reason for that was because alcohol was really controlling my life, and I was not functioning as myself. It was an emotional crutch, and it needed help. I needed help. So I had a couple of stints in rehab. I am an active member in AA, and that's pretty much saved my life. But it also gave me an amazing springboard to look at how I can change people's views around alcohol, or not change, but how I can enhance the already global movement, the cultural movement, and the cultural shift away from alcohol. How can I use all of my brand experience and bring this into the sobriety space? And so ClubSobr is very much a brand first platform. There are loads of resources out there in the world, and this isn't to take anything away from everyone else that's doing great work out there. But we wanted to create a branded standard identity wherever you are in the world. You could go to a ClubSobr event, or you could go to a holiday or a retreat, and you knew that you were going to be completely enveloped in a community of like-minded people that are doing like-minded things together. Alcohol has been in my family since I can remember, since the age of 7. My mother was an alcoholic, and she died as an alcoholic when I was 15. So yeah, it's been a long personal journey. Mostly, like a lot of people, they don't know that this thing is creeping up. Alcoholism, or alcohol dependency syndrome, as it's now commonly termed. And I don't know whether that's a woke way of saying alcoholic, but it's a progressive thing. It's, starts off in a very normal social environment that we've all grown up on. And, from the age of 15, it's quite natural for people to be out with their friends, trying to get into pubs and having a cheeky pint, and that's all very normal and very innocent. But if you're not careful, these things tend to creep up, especially if you're dealing with levels of trauma, levels of distress, levels of grief. Any mind altering substance is going to be a friend to that need to quieten your mind. And you know the process of going through recovery is re-identifying who I am, who I stand for, and learning to feel my feelings as a human being, and not feeling like those are bad feelings and I have to sort of quash them or drown them. And it's a huge process. It's a daily process, and a reminder of the gratitude that I have with everything that's going on in my life. And yeah, I've run out of words at this point, so I'm going to calm.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. That was really open and honest, and yeah, just to share that story with us was really, 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 really honest of you, and thank you. And I know you said that it sounds like that was relatively recent for you.
I think the crisis point, or the rock bottom point, was relatively recent. I would say probably COVID was the epicenter of the chaos, as I think a lot of people experienced a dramatic increase in alcohol intake over that COVID period. In fact, the beer, wine, and spirits industry probably had their best year ever during lockdown, because it was quite normal. We were going through a catastrophic disaster. We were not allowed to leave our homes. It was a state of emergency to a point. And again, it just goes back to how people use alcohol to kind of mask or to help to get through a certain situation. And that might be COVID, it might be a bereavement, it might be many, many things. So yeah, I'd say it's been a very recent journey. I am 20, coming up for 20 months sober now.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Or it wasn't easy. And it's a process of really having to surrender to the fact that this is not working. All of the things that you thought alcohol were giving you in your life to support a process or to elevate a certain situation just isn't working, and the trade-off is far from acceptable given the amount of gratitude that I have today for sobriety and everything it's given me.
You sound like you're in a really pretty good place now, having come from what was clearly quite a dark time. I mean, how do you find that now that you're coming up to 2 years? How are you finding it? Have you had to sort of redefine your identity? Have you changed a lot of who you are? How's the experience been?
It was, I think the first year, I honestly, it was like, it was a rebirth, complete rebirth, and um, just experiencing life through sober lenses, was almost watching like little miracles happen every single day. Um, Things that you wouldn't normally have noticed. Um, and I walk around, I go up to London or into town, and I look at these people walking around, heads down on their phones, going through the trudgery of daily life, which obviously we all experience. But I think sobriety has allowed me the opportunity to look up instead of look down, um, and appreciate just tiny little things that just are quite miraculous at times. Um, and I think it's fair to say that spirituality, or the appreciation of a a universe that is much, much bigger than what's going on in my head, that nature and life and the simple acknowledgement of hearing birds tweeting in the morning is, is just such a pleasure. And it was something that I just wasn't experiencing in the depths of my alcohol consumption.
It, it's I love that. I love the when you said the tiny little miracles, and I know with myself and James have talked about this either between us or with guests in the past about that realization once you start to take that break, and that break becomes that little bit longer. But also, it's incredible how, and I know we're going to come and talk a little bit in a minute about ClubSobr and where we're at with that. But looking back at your journey through that and before COVID, and the business growing at such a fast rate, which is a massive thing and a great positive thing. But with that, I guess, came a lot of change. And then all of a sudden from that, we're thrown into this lockdown and COVID, which we can all relate to. And it only was ever going to go one of two ways for people generally during lockdown. We've spoken to people that had a realization that it was time to maybe take a break, but other people then realized, well, actually, I'm at home. I've got all this time on my hands. No one's checking on me. And now all of a sudden it's a green card to drink kind of when I want to. But then to come out of that and now build what you have built in 20 months of being alcohol free is astounding.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think it's funny enough, the discipline of the day around COVID was non-negotiable. So it wasn't like I was drinking whenever I wanted. It was still
Right.
the after hours, shut the laptop down.
Okay.
But I think when you're dealing with any level of disorder, it's always driven by something. And in my case, I think it was um, undealt trauma. I think having grown up to a certain level, in my formative teens with an alcoholic parent, there are some very, very clear and acknowledged traits that people have. Um, and masking is a good way to dealing with some of those issues.
Mm.
And for me, work was always 100% top of my priority because that's the identity that was important to me. That was the identity that was driving me. And ultimately, success was who was going to define me. And so when you are almost running at 100 miles an hour, running towards that success, driving it, um, with disregard to anything else going on in your life, because that's your single focus, something's going to crack. And
Mm.
um, I think that's pretty much what happened.
When you, I found it really uplifting when you spoke about this little miracles there that you see every day. We talk about that as finding joy in the ordinary. The way that you speak, Daniel, is it comes across that you're in so much of a better place, and actually you're perhaps not missing alcohol. Is that fair to say? Do you go through a daily challenge of having to resist having a drink, or is it something that you're just like, this is the best thing I've ever done? I'm so happy that I made this decision. Where are you in terms of on that spectrum?
Yeah, and I mean, there's no compulsion to want to drink at all. There's still life that goes on. So I think the process and the journey now is dealing with life on life's terms, and um, which is a good thing. It's a healthy thing. It's a
Yeah,
progressive thing. It's hugely rewarding, and sometimes it's challenging. But the concept of uh, I must, or I miss going out for dinner and having three martinis and a bottle of wine. Um, I know that that isn't the best version of myself, and I know that that doesn't serve me or probably anyone else sitting around that dinner table. So it's a joy. It is a daily joy. But it's something that again for me is complacency is the enemy here, and I think it's important to try and connect with those tiny little miracles every day. And it doesn't mean that you go and hunt for them. It means that you're just open and aware,
sensing. Yeah.
um, and ready to accept all the good stuff in life.
So do you? How does that kind of square with AA? Because I know AA is quite often about you know you're an alcoholic, you're always going to be an alcoholic. It's something you have to be on guard about every single day. It doesn't sound like the way that you speak that that's something that's necessarily an issue for you. It sounds like you've made a decision and you're just powering forward with your life, and you're really happy with how things are. How do you mentioned that you're still actively involved in AA? How do you kind of square that? Do you feel like you kind of need to be on guard and you could kind of slip back into drinking, or is it just like I'm done with this and that's that and that's that?
No, it's a daily decision. I think it's not being on guard. It's like I don't need to drink today. I don't want to drink today.
Mm.
And I think AA has a hugely valuable place in society, and it's hugely successful. It's helped millions and millions and millions of people over the decades. And I think in its basic form, it creates connection with people that are in the same position as you,
It's
and
community, isn't it?
and community, and connection and community are key. And that was one of the driving forces with Club Sober. For me, AA is a very useful tool. It has a set of principles, um, and it's really not about not drinking. AA, to a level, teaches you about how to live life through the 12 steps or the traditions or whatever it might be. So it, it's something that I enjoy being involved in. It's something that I enjoy giving service to. Um, and service for me is paramount in terms of not being evangelical about this, but just paying it forward,
Yeah.
paying
Mm.
recovery forward.
Mm.
Um, and what I did learn through treatment is, you have to wear recovery like loose clothing and just be really loose. And if you're tight and you're literally on guard all the time and white knuckling, which I think a lot of people do in dry January, by the way, and we can talk about that later.
Yeah,
That
it's a
the
popular
white
topic.
knuckling is only going to last you so long. There's only so long you can hold on to the handlebars with white knuckles before you're going to get tired and kind of fall off the bars, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So the loose clothing analogy is just be be cool, be
it's a bit.
easy.
It's a bit like a diet, isn't it? I always, talk to people and they say, "Oh, I'm going on such and such a diet," and I always say to people, there's no point going on diets. You have to be able to change your lifestyle into something that works for you permanently.
Mhm.
And dry January is a bit like that. It's a bit like an alcohol diet. If you're going to go back to it on a rebound and drink twice as much in February, then that's pointless. It's a crash diet. It has to be that lifestyle changes that's sustainable.
Yeah, and it was interesting. We've done a lot of research, as you'd expect for Club Sober, and just the amount of times like, well, I just don't know what to do after work. Everyone's going to the park. I just don't know what to do. And it is a lifestyle change, but it's for me, it's about adding value to your life. It's not about what's been taken away. It's actually what you've got back in return. And certainly what I've got back in return far outweighs
It's a great
Mhm.
trade-off.
the
Mm.
absence of alcohol.
Great
I mean,
trade-off.
there's this like you give up one thing for everything, or you give up everything for one
One
thing.
thing I love,
Yeah.
absolutely
Oh,
love that.
wow.
It's such a
And
powerful saying. I've seen that before. It's
and
brilliant.
that in its simplest terms is like, God, it's so simple. Why would I give up my whole life just for
One thing.
alcohol? Um, or I could give up one thing and get so much more back. I mean, it's a very
Mm.
simple concept.
We
Um,
we were talking. I was going to introduce what we were talking about off air. Into the pod now, and it's this idea of when you go alcohol free that, well, I can still have everything that I had before. And the reality is that you can't really. There are some compromises of removing alcohol. You can't just necessarily just strip out of your life and think that everything is going to be exactly the same. And I think that's one of the things that holds people back because they're very rooted and very attached to, well, I like going to the pub on a Friday night and having 6 or 7 pints. And I get that because I absolutely loved doing that for the best part of 25 years. And it was my favorite thing in the world. And if you'd said to me, well, you're not going to be able to do that anymore, I'd have been like, well, I'm not going alcohol free then. But when you get a bit further into the journey, you what lights you up just changes.
Mhm.
And what you let go of willingly without a sense of, oh, I can't have this one thing that I wanted. But it's near on impossible to kind of uh, wrap your head around that until you've done it. And maybe it's different for other people, but that was certainly my experience, is that I would never have wanted to have not been able to go to the pub for hours and hours and hours because that was my favorite thing in the world. But when it got a few months in, and I just didn't care anymore. I just wasn't interested, and I had all these other things that I've newly discovered over the years that I would never trade. And it's what you're talking about. It's if it comes down to a deal and a bit of paper, okay, you've got to give this in, but you get all of this, and it's just absolute no brainer.
yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think it's important to say, look, there are many people out there, and I salute them all that want to go to the pub and have 3 or 4 pints, and they are getting up the next day and they're doing what they're doing. And and I think there's a point here where for me, it's important to support everyone's choices because, I'm not here to tell anyone not to drink. That
Mhm.
would be extremely arrogant. And, if it's working, fair play. Um, and some people are functioning in a way that this isn't really a consideration. I would suggest that people that have made the active decision to go alcohol free are doing it for a specific or a number of reasons. And that could be health, that could be mental health, which is obviously hugely important these days, especially with younger the younger generation, Gen Zs. Maybe it's becoming a problem. Maybe it's becoming you're over reliant on it. There's also financial implications now where, you go into London, it's £10 a pint, right? I mean, that's just absurd. So there's a whole number of factors, and whatever it is for everyone, fantastic. I don't know of a single example that I could quote for anyone that has given up drinking that regrets it.
No.
And I think that would be the message. It's not about you must do or give it a go. I bet it's I think when everyone is faced with a challenge of you can't or you mustn't, our natural reactions are to just ignore that, or more importantly, to be defensive around it.
You
And
push back in the other direction, don't you?
push
No one
back,
likes, no one
exactly.
likes being told what they
Yeah.
can't have, what they
Of
can't
course
do.
not. Of course not.
No.
So, and certainly with ClubSobr, we're not about any of that. We're not ClubSobr wasn't born for people that are in recovery. We're not trying to replace AA. We're not on any level offering clinical advice or opinion, but simply to open up the doors of opportunities to connect with a global community and have life-changing experiences with like-minded people. And I think for us, and having been through this journey, and I have to say, I am a grateful alcoholic, and that sounds like a really sort of weird thing to say, but I just don't think I would have got this bit of my life without it. And the thing that I found through my journey was that ClubSobr was the missing piece. It was the bridge to all of the great fun stuff you can have without alcohol. And that was the missing piece for me. That was the missing piece for people in that community. So it was born with a real latent demand for this, rather than just this abject concept of, oh, I'll just create a brand because it sounds cool. And it sounds cool because it needs to be cool, because it needs to be inviting. It needs to feel exciting. And the events that we do are high energy, exciting events with
That's
the
when you
same
just don't.
DJs, with the same thumping music, with the same getting sweaty on the dance floor, with the same energy, just with better memories.
I'm kind of conscious that I did a pretty piss poor job of actually describing what ClubSobr is. Could you perhaps give a better description, just so people have got a clear idea of what we're talking about in terms of what ClubSobr offers and what it is? You can describe it far better than I can.
No, sure. I mean, look, ClubSobr in its simple form is a global community-driven platform to help people live amazing lives without alcohol. We're a community-first platform that offers curated events, holidays, retreats, and resources. We do have plans for our own podcast, so hopefully that's not in
We'll come
competition
on.
with yours.
We'll be on it.
You can come on for sure. We'll do a return invite, but that's down the line. And yeah, we will offer sort of a level of resource and connections to coaches if people feel like that's what they need. But really, it is about creating those life-changing experiences with like-minded people. And I think when I mention retreats, I think retreats have a place, but for me, it's about normal holidays. It's like going skiing or going on safari or going sailing. All of those things have strong connotations to après ski, après sail, après whatever it might be. Um, and we're trying to just curate an opportunity for people to enjoy everything that they used to enjoy with alcohol,
Mm.
but without.
It feels like there's such an enormous gap in the market for that.
Massive.
They're like huge, because the only one I can really think of that's doing this in any meaningful way is Millie Gooch with the Sober Girls Society, and obviously she's absolutely pulling up trees in that space. But that is obviously aimed at women, and it's also generally aimed at kind of younger women as well. So, what is there for the likes of me and Steve? What are we going to do?
Well, come on our sober ski trip for sure.
Well,
I mean, again, look, we're not trying to we're a super democratic brand. I mean, this isn't, I think the other thing is that this isn't about just sober people. The biggest interest for me actually is the sober curious individual,
mm,
and or the person that wants the day off. So, if someone, wants to come to one of our coffee shop raves, and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, but I drank last night, and I'm not sure." I'm like, "Great, good for you. Still come along. We're not shutting the doors on anyone."
What does a coffee shop rave look like?
I love that.
Come on.
I almost had to jump
Oh,
in there.
you've got to look it up. I mean,
Coffee
it's
shop rave.
huge in the US. In LA, it was like, people getting together at probably 8 in the morning with the most incredible DJs, sound systems. They're having a double espresso, they're having a matcha, and they're just literally letting rip in this beautiful space and connectivity, and having a dance and feeling energized and making friends and connecting and all of the things that you do in a nightclub. And just in a different way. And it's just remarkable the level of energy that you get at the opposite end of the day, where you're usually leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning, or you're getting home at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're just flipping it on its head a little bit.
And going to work afterwards, I guess.
If you want, if you want. Um,
I'm hearing you talk there, Daniel, about, and to have got to here in such a short space of time, and we're talking like a global community. Where did it begin? Where did that idea come from? Was it born out of one of your mini miracles that you talked about earlier? Where did it first come to you? I'm intrigued to hear.
Again, it was I guess through first-hand experience of like, well, what do we do now? We've been spat out of a rehab. We've been, we're going to AA. We're doing all the right things that we're meant to be doing as sober individuals. But what's the missing link is, well, there's more to life than just those sort of those channels. And I still have a lot of energy. I'm a huge vinyl collector. I used to be a DJ. I love music. I love gigs. I love skiing. I love sailing. I was in Bali for the month of September, thinking I was going to learn to surf, which I just can't. It's just bloody impossible. But all of those things, all of those things, is stuff that I want to do, and what I don't want to do is go on a ski holiday with a load of pissheads, because it's going to ruin my experience. I'm going to want to then isolate. What I do want to do is still do the thing that I absolutely love, but with a bunch of guys, girls, OAPs, whatever the age group, and have an amazing time, appreciating the mountains, which incidentally, when you come face to face to a mountain, you soon realize how insignificant your life really is, and there is something so majestic. So not only are you doing it sober, your whole experience is being elevated, because you are appreciating and absorbing things in life that you may have just taken for granted, or you may not have even noticed. And I just think that's a really powerful thing to be doing.
It's awe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or yeah,
It's awe. Since I went alcohol free, I've been on holidays I never would have done before. I was
Yeah.
always just a beach guy, but since being alcohol free, I've gone to Canada and seen the mountains, Austria, Finland, and it's all about that finding awe, and that just would not have even registered, when I was, well, for the first, until I got to kind of 40, really. It was just like pool, beach, bar, done. Thank you.
It's so true. I can totally relate. And coming to the skiing as well. I mean, I love my snowboarding, and I have done since I was 14, 15 years old. And I think back to the amount of holidays that I went away and just blurred that the mountains. You're in one of the. I now look at when I'm in the mountains. The air is pure. You're up in in nature. It's just so awe-inspiring, and the amount of times we've kind of blurred that out, and equally, like James is saying there, just the holiday. I just enjoy holidays so much more now. We went away in. It was a challenge, but we went away in the summer this year, and we spent 3 weeks driving around Europe in a motorhome, and went down to Slovenia and went visit and see bears in the wild and all these things. I would always have just been in earlier years. Just same thing. Go on holiday, sit by the pool, grab a beer.
There's not much awe in that, is there?
There's not much awe in it.
It's not very awe-inspiring.
No, and I just so look forward to what the next adventure
it's so
will be.
ingrained. It's so ingrained in how
exactly.
we perceive what a holiday to be.
Come back, feel like shit.
Yeah, come home feeling worse.
Yeah, feeling tired,
worse.
and unrested. Even though you've been horizontal for 2 weeks. It's quite. And I think, look, there are extremes here, and I think there's people that very much have decided to go alcohol free and have completely thrown themselves into wellness and sport and whatever that might be, and that's also cool because those types of activities also bring connection and community. You look at the growth of cycling, or golf, or whatever it might be. It's still the same principles around connection with like-minded people. ClubSobr isn't a wellness brand per se. I mean, we held a yoga Pilates sound bath event in Camden in early October, which was beautiful, and the feedback was phenomenal. But I think we're just trying to, as I mentioned, provide an opportunity for people to do everything they used to do with alcohol, but without. And those are the pillars that we feel are best served to that community, because those are the things that you struggle with. And there are sober raves, there are sober festivals. We will be having ClubSobr corners within some of the big festivals around the world, because a lot of people want to sit in that sober environment, and escape from the madness of it.
When you talk about being able to have great social experiences but without the alcohol, I'm kind of conscious that a lot of the time in social occasions the alcohol is the main event, or it certainly was for me. And in fact, it is for most people, because you look around and everything is centered around alcohol. I wouldn't have gone to any event when I was drinking if there wasn't any alcohol. I'd be like, well, I'm not going. I'm not spending 2 hours doing that. It's not worth it. So you are literally replacing the main event. That must be quite tough to do.
I think it's incredibly tough. And I think I don't think it's an on-off switch either. I think it's definitely a transition. And it's a marathon, to use a corny analogy. I don't think you just go from one to the other. I think it's very much about looking at your life, establishing what's important, establishing all the things that have happened since going sober that have never happened before, which is the miracle. And I think, sobriety becomes the main event, and then what you do with it just enhances it. So as much as the alcohol was the main event, you're now talking about sobriety as being the main event. And therefore, I am able to do X, Y, and Z in a conscious, connected, present way, as opposed to 5 pints into a Friday night and everyone's loosened up and talking about these big plans that never happen, and waking up the next morning going, I don't know. It's just it's a very, very different mindset, that needs nurturing, I think. And I think people need to be kind to themselves in fact that this is a change for good, and don't be too hard on yourself. So when we talk about dry January, and we'll be having some campaigns around that. I think the pressure of people going into dry January and white knuckling it is, in many respects, is counterintuitive, because that pressure isn't real. And the number of people, and I'm waiting for some stats to come through, but we're talking about the high 80% of people that go into dry January cannot wait until the 31st of Jan or the 1st of February just to switch back, because
Mhm.
the learning process of how to live life without alcohol, you can't do that in 30 days. It's ridiculous. So for
Mhm.
me, it's very much about try January, and it really just
I like that.
depressurizes that expectation, and then try February. And even if it's, you don't make it, it doesn't matter. But you're giving it a go, and hopefully, in the same way that I think, you get these miracles of life back in, I think you will get these pockets, these windows of clarity, that you start adding up all of that collateral, and over a period of time, people will understand that there is such a huge benefit.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean to have to be also a full-time thing.
Mhm.
Um, it's like, indeed, take the pressure off, learn and experience, and then make your choice. Not because you have to, not because society dictates, in the same way that society has dictated drinking as a foremost activity in our social culture. I don't think sobriety has a job in dictating that either, but I think it's an opportunity for people to explore and learn.
Mm. Mm. It's just those counting the days, really, isn't it? In those shorter breaks, you're always counting down to when you can next have that drink. And whereas I love that you're saying there about try January and try February. That yeah, that's you're then counting up rather than counting down. So you're seeing the progress, you're seeing the changes, you're seeing the benefits, and once you start to see that, that's where the real change can start to happen. Like you said, it's not about that you must do this or you mustn't do that. It's just once I'm referring back to what you were saying earlier on. It's not about saying that, but if you're having that question in your mind, if that question's coming up for you, whether it's that 2 glasses of wine are getting in the way for you and you're not functioning as well the next day, or whether it's something more, if that voice is coming up for you, then that's the time to kind of make that change, or certainly explore that change. And once you do that, and a longer period of time tends to work a lot better, I find.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, if you've given yourself a break, those 2 glasses of wine, you're going to feel them a lot more
Mm,
were if you had just been on a continuum. And that's also an interesting reality, just a physiological reality check about, oof, that's really, it's only 2 glasses of wine, but I feel awful because you've had a period of abstinence before then.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it's interesting. And, there is a shock element to this, which is, if anyone was to tell you that the way to live life and the way to socialize is by slowly poisoning yourself by drinking ethanol, um, it's quite a bizarre concept.
It's a very bizarre concept. Steve brings this in almost every week. So I'm going to bring
Right.
it in this week. You know what I'm going to say, right, Steve?
I think so. Go on.
The old Andy Ramage phrase: "When you're inside the jar, you can't read the
Well, oh,
label."
there you go. Well, it's
we managed to we
it's
managed to
your
crowbar
expression.
that we managed to crowbar that into just about every single episode. But it's exactly what you've just described there. You know, when you take a look out from when you're outside of the jar and you can look in and see what's going on, you're a bit like that makes no sense whatsoever, and it's
Yeah.
exactly what you just described. But
Yeah.
we're all doing it, or to a point we are.
I think for me, the fact that there's so much awareness of it now and there is a cultural shift is great. It's great for people, again, who are just curious about what it might be like, or who just want a weekend off for a change,
Mm.
are bored of the same old. And whatever it is positive without any level of, you know, being dictatorial around it. Just give it a go.
So a couple of questions, a bit more about Club Sober. So the first one is, what are the events that you've done that have proved the most popular? And also, you spoke about Dry January there. What have you got planned for Dry January?
So we've held 15 events so far. Bearing in mind, Club Sober was really born in April of we really went live April of this year.
Bloody hell,
Um,
you've been busy.
Wow.
so yeah, it's been pretty busy, and I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that's what's happening in the background before then, but really we turned on social media in April of this year. There's a powerful platform for us, for community. So the range of events are, we've just been experimenting and seeing what really clicks for the brand. We've held yoga events, we've held some parties in Bali, some villa gatherings. We've did a yoga retreat in Ibiza. We did our yoga thing in soundbar thing in London. And now I think there have been so many learnings around that. All have been positive, and I think it's now more about creating slightly more high energy events that stand up on their own merit, that just aren't, oh, it's a sober event. Because the minute you say sober, everyone goes, oh, that's immediately got
Mm.
a boring tag on it.
Mm.
So, by virtue, those wellness events will always be sober because you're not going to be doing Pilates on the piss.
I love that.
So,
Pilates.
Mind
so
you,
I think that's almost a given. I think so. What we're moving towards now is very much about these high energy. I think music, cultural events, holidays are very much going to be in what we're looking at, and our coffee shop series of raves or our series of coffee shop raves will start in dry January, as a testament to that thought process.
which one are we going to, James?
I literally was just thinking that.
I will let you guys know. There's one in Huddersfield. I'm trying to lock down some London dates. But the thing is here is to create almost a residency somewhere, and build that following around those locations.
Do you find that people come to your events with friends, or do they come on their own seeking connection with other people that are alcohol free, or is it a mixture of both?
It is both, actually, and I applaud the people that come on their own because I feel that that's really brave.
Mm.
Um, and just to try something on your own with a bunch of strangers is such an incredibly brave thing to do when we are programmed and conditioned to sort of
Yeah.
socialize in packs, and then also with a social lubricant. I think that's so cool.
Mm.
But the takeout and the walk away is just high energy connectivity, people swapping numbers, and it's just that the glue that brings everyone together is quite special.
And what about the general age demographic? Because obviously we know that younger people are drinking way less than people. I'm assuming you're probably close to me and Steve's age, it's midlife, we'll call it. We obviously, we know drinking is much more prevalent in people of our age and less so in in Gen Z. So how does that work in terms of is it a younger audience or is it people of our age or is
Yeah,
it a
I think
mix?
the brand, the look and feel of the brand and the messaging around the brand um, has naturally gravitated to, I would say, our core demographic would be 25 to 40.
Mm.
Um, but again, we're a democratic brand, so we're not going to close the door if you don't fit a certain stereotype. And but that's kind of where we're sitting.
I guess it depends on the event as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And um,
Because if you're talking about skiing events and things like that, that obviously requires a certain level of affluence, right? As opposed to going to a coffee shop. So,
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, we are living in a very expensive age at the moment, so not all of these things are going to be affordable for everyone. So yeah, it's around providing entry points um, to the brand through different events, and it may not be a ski holiday. It might be I don't know, it might be a walking holiday in England. It might be just a meetup on Hampstead Heath and doing a little trek around there, or there are so many options. And I'm conscious that Club Sober can't do everything. We can't run 2,000 events globally around the world ourselves. So part of very much our plan is from a business perspective is to license the Club Sober brand for people that want to run their sober events in South Africa or in Newcastle or whatever it might be, because it
Mm.
brings a standard of identity, it brings a level of trust, it brings a level of awareness that I think sits on top of um, what would be I guess, more of a generic sober event. So it's adding value to existing communities. Um, I would love to have a team that we could be running our own events right now, and maybe we will in the future, but that's the short-term plan for sure.
So what corners of the globe do you stretch to? So you're global now. Where are you operating? Is it wherever it
So
may happen to
I
take you?
mean, I'm in London. We've got an operation in Bali, which is going to be quite pivotal for us. The Bali market is super interesting for me. It's full of innovation. It's a very spiritual place. It's rooted in wellness and healthy living, which is fine, but it's also got a huge, huge music culture. It's got a huge clubbing culture. Um, and there's so much experience that you can get out there. So a lot of our events next year will be in Bali. We're also developing our own Club Sober soda. So going back to that tongue twister, it was very much created with the intention of it's a club soda, but it's Club Sober
Mm.
soda. Um, so we're developing a range of drinks out in Bali that will hopefully extend into other markets. And we will be announcing sometime in the new year the opening of Club Sober North America, where we'll be going after the US market as well, and potentially Dubai, which was a very interesting conversation that I've been having, potentially around the drinks, but also around live events as well.
Awesome.
Fantastic. So where can people find out a bit more about Club Sober?
So we're on Instagram at Club Sober, on TikTok. Our new website should be up at clubsober.com by the end of next week. So yeah, for sure, sign up, be part of the community. We'd love to have you, and yeah, we'd love to serve you. We'd love to serve you some sobriety and serve you some fun. And I think that's the essence of what we're trying to achieve.
Sobriety on tap. Love it.
Absolutely. I cannot wait
On
to get along to
draft.
one of your. I cannot wait to
On
get along to
draft,
one of
yeah.
your events.
Bottles
I
or
really don't.
drafts or
Yeah.
cans.
or straight out the coffee machine by the sounds of it, which I'm going to go and practice in my kitchen straight after. So I'm going to go have my own mini coffee shop rave, get some practice in.
I want to see some moves, Steve. I want to see you filming some moves.
Believe me, you don't.
We'll put it on Instagram for you.
Yeah.
He was only boasting a few weeks ago. He was a good dancer. So yeah, come on, Steve, put up.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, listen in depth to exactly what I was saying there. Brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, so me and Steve both looking at each other. You go.
I mean, I'm. Yeah, I think to have heard your journey from the beginning of this conversation and what brought you into that space to one of those moments, those little miracles, to grow something like this. And I believe generally the world is screaming out for more ClubSobr. And it's just, you mentioned earlier about, being hit with that. What do we do when we suddenly realize that all we've been doing is hitting the pub and where what fills that space? But the simple answer is so much more. And I, unlike James, had not heard that expression earlier about you give up everything for one thing and you give up one thing and get everything back. And I think that's really hit. I'm really taken that on board today, and what you're doing with ClubSobr is just showing that in bundles. So I cannot wait to get along to one of your events, and I really appreciate you sharing your story with us today.
Thank you. Your lifetime VIP members.
Stick us on the guest list.
On the guest list.
If your name's not coming in.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a long time since I've walked to the front of a queue and been on a guest list. I can tell you. I think I'm going to enjoy this one even more. Yeah. It's those guys.
I know the owner. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, Daniel. It's been
Thank you so
genuine,
much.
real pleasure to talk to you.
It really has.
All the best with ClubSobr.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks
for listening, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.